to get your fix.
Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready to get your fix?
With the Wicks here on this beautiful Monday, April 25th, 2022, and welcome to the show, whether that's on Facebook or on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, do me a favor, hit the like and the share. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe. It'd be much, much appreciated. So we are officially 3 days away from the 2022 NFL Draft, and I could not be any more excited. A day where, dreams come true. Tears are shed. Where we get to see, who might potentially be a bust. Who might potentially become a superstar. We get to see our teams either make a selection in which we're like, that's our guy. Heck yeah, nice pick. Or we get to watch our team make a selection where we're just like, what are we doing? Why did we make that decision? Draft day is a day filled with emotions. It's an exciting day. Trades could happen that we would have never expected. Teams moving up, teams moving down, teams selecting people that we're like, that wasn't who you were supposed to get, but all right, let's see what happens. It's a fun day. Round one begins on Thursday, April 28th, 3 days away, in which we'll have a draft show where me, my guest host on whenever he's available, Y4, and Logan Baumgart, who's been on the show before as well, will sit down and, talk about the selections as they're being made, give our opinions and all that sort of fun stuff. So I can't wait for that. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the draft, but before then we got to talk about the updated situation or the updated cap scenario for Tom Brady and what that means for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kadarius Toney, who is said to reportedly be a trade prospect for the New York Giants, has reported 2 voluntary workouts. And then Bears wide receiver Byron Pringle, who played for the Kansas City Chiefs the past couple seasons, he made some dumb choices, and we all know what I think about dumb choices, and he was arrested Saturday. So with that being said, are you ready to get your fix? So before we get to all the draft talk, because there's quite a bit of it, not a lot, but quite a bit of it, we'll dive into who's trading up, who's trading down. We got to talk about a couple certain situations. Byron Pringle, who I just brought up, Bears wide receiver, new receiver for the Bears, was arrested in Florida on Saturday. At first glance, I was like, okay, what kind of dumb decision did he make? He made the decision of doing some reckless driving, okay? And while doing so, he was also driving with a suspended license. If you have a suspended license, don't you think you shouldn't be driving in the first place? I mean, come on, dude. Listen, I've been very adamant about the fact that when you're in the National Football League, why in the world do you think you are the king of the world and have to make the dumbest choices in the world? We watched Henry Ruggs make an awful decision, going 156 miles an hour in Las Vegas, striking a woman and ending her life, and not only her dog's life as well. We've talked about Damon Arnett for the Las Vegas Raiders also last year, where he decided to go on Instagram and flash some guns and, threaten some people's lives, making stupid decisions. When you make the National Football League, you not only set up the rest of your life financially, you set up your kids' life, their kids' life, and their kids' life. For the rest, basically for the next at least 30 years. And yet you want to go out there because you got a big head and you think, oh, I've made it. I'm making millions now. Nothing can stop me. I'm the greatest of them all. And you decide to go make a dumb decision, lose it all. And now, well, you're right back in the bottom of the totem pole, fella. Now, I'm not saying this is the case for Byron Pringle, but it does kind of grind my gears. Because when you're in the National Football League, yes, young, old, whatever the case may be, there's going to be choices that are going to have to be made. And some of the times, you're not going to make the right one. But with that being said, you should always second guess yourself. And when you have a suspended driver's license, the first thought should be, well, probably shouldn't get behind the wheel. And when you get behind the wheel, if you do it with a suspended license, even though it's wrong, reckless driving probably shouldn't be a part of it at all. You should try to be as safe as possible so that you don't get pulled over. You don't get in more trouble. I understand all this, but make the right decision. Byron Pringle will be fine. It's not like an Alvin Kamara situation where him and a couple buddies just absolutely beat the crap out of some dude in an elevator, outside of an elevator, whatever the case may be. We haven't heard about that situation as of late, and I'm sure Alvin Kamara's career probably not going to take off like it has been. Right? Deshaun Watson, he's finally getting out of his whole accusations with all those women. Finally, but at the same time, we don't know what happened. We can only speculate and make our own assumptions, even though those assumptions might be wrong. Byron Pringle made a dumb decision. Now, does this dumb decision affect his career? Yes and no. I say yes because of the fact that, well, when he was on Kansas City, he was maybe the fourth string wide receiver because he had Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, Sammy Watkins ahead of him. Sammy Watkins leaves, he goes to Baltimore, and now he has McCole Hardman, Tyreek Hill, and, well, I guess we could put Travis Kelce in the mix, too, ahead of him, so Byron Pringle got to see the field a little bit. He's seen the field more than Josh Gordon did, so he was the third-string wide receiver at best. He goes over to the Chicago Bears, and, well, the Chicago Bears had Allen Robinson, let him walk in free agency. Now Byron Pringle is probably going to be the Bears' number 2. Maybe it's a reach, but maybe their number 1 wide receiver. And to go out there and just make a dumb decision is just, it doesn't look good, because when you haven't really made a name for yourself in the National Football League, one wrong decision can make every single NFL team owner, GM look at you like, oh, well, he's not mature enough to play in this league yet. Do we want to put the ball in his hands? Do we want stardom to come to this player? Probably not. We don't want him to be a leader in the locker room because he's not a leader of himself outside of the locker room. I hope he can overcome this. I hope, he goes out there and he balls out. But stop making dumb decisions. Please, for the love of God. I mean, it's not that hard to make the right choice. And I did say, hey, sometime you're going to make the wrong choice. But when you make the wrong choice, learn from it. And I hope he learns from this decision. Suspend a license, don't drive. Get it figured out first, then get your license back, and then go do whatever you want to do. Okay, and if you get caught reckless driving, then, the fines might be a little less and all that stuff, but you still have a better chance at, becoming a better person. I think he's still going to become a better person. He just has to make the right decision, and him and the Bears, I'm sure we'll have talks about this and how he has to be a better leader and has to be a better person in general. So, with that being said, let's move forward, to Tom Brady. Now, remember last week, I believe it was, Tom Brady decided to restructure his cap, which actually gave the Tampa Bay Buccaneers $9 million in cap space to spend on their draft class and free agency. Well, his updated cap space number has been revealed. Tom Brady's updated, or @Field Yates reported this on Twitter. He said Tom Brady's updated cap number after his contract restructure is $11.896 million. Tampa Bay now has more resources for 2022 to sign their draft class and potentially work through remaining free agents, including their own examples would be Rob Gronkowski and Ndamukong Suh. Obviously, they want to bring those two back, and I would assume that would be the case because once this offseason started, right, when it was looking like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were probably not going to be the greatest team in the National Football League, or one of the best teams in the National Football League, I should say, because they only had, I believe, 7 of their 22 offensive and defensive starters on the roster. The rest of them were either retiring or were free agents. That shortly changed after Tom Brady decided, all right, I ain't doing this no more. I'm coming back. I still got football left in me, and I got more to prove. What more do you got to prove? Well, hey, my boy's got to go get 8 rings. Okay, he's got to go get his 8th ring, unless the Minnesota Vikings decide to pick it up a notch with their new head coach, Kevin Connell, who I just watched an interview with. He was on the Pat McAfee show. Absolutely electrifying, man. I'm excited to see what he has in store for us. But once Tom Brady unretires, okay. Well, that brings the Bucs back in play because, well, Chris Godwin I think Chris Godwin signed his contract extension right before Tom Brady unretired, so they locked up him. They still have Mike Evans. They didn't have a running back. Ronald Jones was shipped out. He's now a Kansas City Chief, I believe. Leonard Fournette decides to come back to Tampa Bay and during free agency and signs with them. So he's back on their roster. Ryan Jensen, their center, who is said to probably retire, he comes back as well. Their defense is young, poised, ready to rock and roll with Antoine Winfield Jr., Levante David, Devin White, Vita Vea, who is an absolute monster up front. Good luck running the ball against the Buccaneers. We've seen that last season where it was basically you're going to have to run outside, get away from Vita Vea as fast as possible because A, if we run up the middle, he's going to stuff it. B, if we're too slow, our offensive line might let him by, and, well, he'll catch us on the backside and make us, lose yards. But with clearing up this cap space, obviously now they can sign their draft picks. I believe they would have been able to already do so. But I think a big part of restructuring his contract and saving this cap space or adding this cap space for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers gives them the opportunity to go re-sign Rob Gronkowski, right? And, well, Rob Gronkowski has played with Tom Brady his entire career. He's said multiple times, hey, if Tom's coming back, so am I. And where is that going to be? Well, when Tom decided to go to Tampa Bay after he had his first ever free agency debacle or whatever you want to say, Gronk's like, well, okay, yeah, I'm going to come out of retirement now, and Patriots, you got to trade me, in which they did. They got rid of Gronk. They traded him to the Buccaneers because he was still under contract with the New England Patriots, even though he was out of the league for 1 year. They were still paying him a salary, so once he comes back, they have to get rid of that, and they didn't want to cause any bad relationships, and plus Bill Belichick knows what the hell he's doing over there. I'd say so myself. And then he goes over there, they win a Super Bowl, all is good, all is happy over there in Tampa Bay. Then that last year didn't quite work out. They were 1 game away from the NFC Championship game, ultimately got beat down by the Los Angeles Rams. So, next step was free agency, and now Gronk, I don't think he was, in my opinion, I don't think he was, wanting to come back to the National Football League. I think he was like, okay, well, if this is it, this is it. I'm okay with it. I enjoyed retirement for that year. I was gone. I was healthy. I don't have to wear a brace anymore, a couple braces, or whatever the fact was. And now he's back. Well, possibly back. With Tom Brady unretiring, it makes the deal a little sweeter. Should I come back? Well, Tom's there. I can get my receptions. I can make a lot of money. We could potentially go on another run, potentially win another Super Bowl together. That would be awesome. So, freeing up this cap space brings in the opportunity to sign Robert Gronk. We'll just say Gronk. But it also brings the possibility that they might re-sign Ndamukong Suh, who's had an illustrious career up to this point. I think he's at least played 10 plus years in the National Football League, once with the Detroit Lions and now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I believe there was one more team in between. I just can't remember off the top of my head who that team was. But Ndamukong Suh, you add him with Vita Vea on that defensive line, and good luck, plain and simple, running the ball outside, inside, whatever the hell you want to do. Good luck. Because those are 2 big human beings up front, and they're mean human beings too when it comes to playing football. It's you versus them, and more than likely, they're not going to lose that battle. So with Gronk or with Tom Brady restructuring this contract, he's saying, hey, I want to bring back as many people that we had last year as possible. Whatever you can get done, and get it done fast so that we're ready to rock and roll come regular season. Gronk is definitely a real possibility that still might happen. Who knows what Tampa Bay does in this year's draft? I think they're going to look or focus on the corner position probably most likely because last year they dealt with a plethora of injuries at the corner position. They want to build depth even though they had depth there last year. Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Richard Sherman. I mean, the list kind of goes on over there. But then you also got to look at, maybe they bring in offensive lineman help or offensive line help. They lost Ali Marpet to retirement this season. I believe he was only 27 years old or something like that. Had only 7 years 7 years under his belt total in the National Football League. So they got to fix that position. What else do they got to do? Well, maybe they get a backup running back to put behind Leonard Fournette. Maybe they get one of these young quarterbacks like a Sam Howell, like a Matt Corral, and put him behind Tom Brady, even though they got Kyle Trask still in the building. I believe they also signed or re-signed Blaine Gabbert. So Tampa Bay's looking good. They just handed the team over to Todd Bowles. Bruce Arians took a senior executive role in that Tampa Bay organization. So it'll be exciting to see what Tampa Bay kind of has brewing for draft night and beyond, because after draft night it kind of gets dead with news. Teams are meeting with all their draftees, the rookies or whatever, and then rookie minicamp starts, OTAs, training camp, preseason, then we're right back into it with the regular season. I believe kickoff is probably the first week of September like it usually is. So I'm excited for it, and I know all these other teams are as well, getting their war room set up, getting their draft prospect board built, and hey, dreams are going to come true on Thursday. One more little tidbit before we hit a little bit on the draft. So last week it was said that wide receiver Kadarius Toney was potentially going to be traded by the New York Giants. This news came shortly after Deebo Samuel announced that he has requested a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. Right off the bat, that had me thinking, oh, perfect. Giants could trade Kadarius Toney, maybe one other piece, and maybe a draft pick, because they have, I believe, 2 in the first round. They have a top 10 pick, and Deebo Samuel is an instant game changer for whatever team he's on, whether that's the Jets, which he's been closely linked to potentially signing with them or getting traded to them because, old Bob Saleh or Robert Saleh, the head coach, was the defense coordinator for the 49ers when they drafted Deebo, so that was a real possibility. But with the recent news that, Kadarius Toney could be traded, and if you don't know who Kadarius Toney, he was a rookie last year, didn't get to play much until towards the end of the season where he really started to flourish, was he played a lot like Deebo, okay? He could literally do everything. He was going to make you miss. He was super agile, was quick on his feet, could catch the ball exceptionally well. You may have heard him at the beginning of the season where he was, kind of bitching and moaning, saying, I'm the best receiver on this field. Like, why am I not playing? Why am I not on the field at this point in time? Like, I should be the number 1 receiver on this team. Sterling Shepard can't keep up with me. Darius Slayton can't keep up with me. I mean, these guys are not that good. Okay, I'm way better. Okay, I should be on the football field. Well, he got his chance on the football field, and Giants really never looked back. He has a lot of the same, how do you want to say it? He looks a lot like Deebo. He can be that running back, wide receiver hybrid that Deebo is. He can take handoffs out the backfield or jet sweeps out the backfield. He can catch balls. He can run deep. I mean, the dude's fast, so he was linked to being possibly traded. And that's where I thought he could potentially go. But, well, as it has been reported, he has showed up to the Giants' voluntary workout program. This is coming from Ari Mirov, who works with Pro Football Focus. He said, well, wide receiver Kadarius Toney, subject of some trade speculation, is reported to the team for voluntary workouts, and the Giants weren't necessarily shopping him around. So they weren't really, taking calls too much on him. But they said calls always come in on players, but sounds like new staff would like to work with him. So the Giants at the beginning of this offseason said, hey, Saquon Barkley, up for trade discussion. Daniel Jones, up for trade discussion. We're willing to trade anybody and anyone or literally anything for different people. Everyone's on the trading block. Okay, if it's at the right price at the right time, we'll get the deal done if we think we should. So we kind of hit the brakes on this whole Kadarius Toney possibly getting traded thing because the Giants are taking calls on everyone. Okay, can we get better at this position? If so, how can we make this work? Saquon Barkley hasn't had the greatest couple years after he tore his ACL. So he was on the trading block. Daniel Jones, is he truly the franchise guy over there for the New York Giants? Tough to say. Tough to say because he's shown, moments of greatness. He showed moments of not so great. So the Giants really they've had a whole regime change, and that's what they needed because they've been absolute garbage since Eli Manning left their organization. They haven't won to a Super Bowl, haven't really had a winning season, has been struggling, ups and downs. OBJ ends up leaving town, things kind of go sideways. Sterling Shepard was supposed to be the new guy. That didn't work out. Evan Ingram at tight end was supposed to be a dude. Didn't work out too much. He ends up leaving as well. I think he's a Jacksonville Jaguar now at this point with the new head coach Doug Peterson. So it's not necessarily that they're shopping Kadarius Toney or any of these people. They're just taking calls, seeing if it's the right move for them, seeing if it's the right situation. Like, okay, maybe we can trade him. What do we get in return? Do we get someone similar to him? Do we get someone better than them? Because if we get someone worse than them, not so sure we're going to make that deal. So, but it is still a real possibility Kadarius Toney does get traded. I'd expect otherwise just because he's a young up-and-coming talent. He was a rookie last season. Year 2 is going to be awesome to watch, see what he brings to that New York Giants offense, and especially if a healthy Saquon Barkley comes back running on all cylinders and is ready to rock and roll 110%. I'm excited to see what he has. Daniel Jones, let's see how much better he's gotten as well. So I think we got to kind of pump the brakes a little bit on it, but it's still a real possibility, especially with Deebo Samuel requesting that trade out of the San Francisco 49ers organization. Where does he go? Does he go to the Green Bay Packers? I hope not. Okay, but whatever's best for business, do it. All right. Aaron Rodgers couldn't win with Devontae Adams, so we'll see if he could win with Deebo Samuel. That'd be a cool possibility. Does he want to go back home, where he's from, South Carolina? Does he want to go play for the Carolina Panthers, who have DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, where Deebo Samuel could step in right away and be the number 1 wide receiver on the depth chart? Or is there other possibilities? The Indianapolis Colts need a wide receiver. Okay, they only got Michael Pittman Jr. They definitely need a weapon. Deebo would be one hell of a weapon over there, I'd say so myself, especially with Jonathan Taylor in that backfield, a new quarterback, a veteran quarterback, Matt Ryan coming over from the Atlanta Falcons. The Giants, try to revamp the Giants organization, even though I don't know how much revamping he could do. The Jets, in which he's been closely linked to, Jets stink, so please stay away from them. They're never going to see greatness, and if they do, kudos to you, okay? The Detroit Lions, they've been cursed for, I think since Dick Knight, Train Lane, and Barry Sanders, had his 10-year career, ends up retiring early, and then Megatron ends up retiring early because they didn't pay him his money. They've been cursed. Why would you go there? Or is it the Kansas City Chiefs? That would be interesting. They just lost Tyreek Hill. They need a legit number 1 wide receiver in that building. Can they afford Deebo Samuel? I'd assume so, since the salary cap seems to be fake with all these voidable contract years, and we'll give you set amount of money and we'll pay it out through like 10 years or 20 years, whatever the case may be. Bring him in the building. We need a number 1 receiver. But that might not be the case. Because, well, within the past week, as the draft has drawn closer, Multiple teams in the top half of the draft have inquired with others to try and trade back in the first round. So far, the interest in moving back in Thursday's draft has greatly exceeded the interest in moving up, and that is at Adam Schefter, okay? He's saying that. So lots of teams are wanting to trade back. Why is that? Well, this ain't a quarterback-heavy draft class. You're not going to get a Trevor Lawrence, a Kyler Murray, one of those big-name quarterbacks. You're not going to get a top wide receiver unless you absolutely need one. I mean, there's still good ones. Drake London from USC, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson from Ohio State University, Treylon Burks, I believe, from NDSU, and Johan Duran. I mean, they have some dogs at the wide receiver position. The tight end position, at best, they're probably third rounders, maybe late second round draft picks at the tight end position. This draft is strictly offensive line, defensive line, which includes edge rushers or pass rushers, however you want to look at them. Linebackers, there's not many of them. There's a couple. Corners, there's not many. There's a couple. Safeties, there's literally only one. That is Kyle Hamilton on Notre Dame. So teams are like, well, if there isn't really anything to take, let's trade back, especially with teams that are going to be aggressive, are going to want to be aggressive, like the Kansas City Chiefs. And why do I say they would want to be aggressive? Well, we talked about it. They need a wide receiver, or a legit number one wide receiver after losing Tyreek Hill. They really don't need it, but it would definitely help out, especially if they want to make another Super Bowl run. But this is, again, from Ari Mirov out of Pro Football Focus. He says, hey, this is a logical trade-up team, the Kansas City Chiefs. They have 12 picks, not first-round picks, 12 picks, including 2 in each of the first 4 rounds. 2 in the first round, 2 in the second round, 2 in the third round, 2 in the fourth round. Do they need 12 rookies, he says? Well, probably not, okay, especially with what they've been able to do with the team that they've had. Not many holes over there in that Kansas City organization. Offensive line, maybe. Defensive line, wouldn't be a bad idea. Linebackers, wouldn't be a bad idea. Safety, corner, think they're fine. Maybe corner would be a potential possibility. Wide receiver, probably. Running back, probably. They really don't need too much. Special teams, maybe. Trading up for one of the top wide receivers would make some sense. The GM, Brett Veach, recently said they have 16 to 18 players with first-round grades. The Chiefs own picks 29 and 30. So look for the Chiefs to possibly trade up in the draft, get a wide receiver like a Drake London, like a Chris Olave, like a Garrett Wilson, an instant game changer to fill that void at wide receiver after losing Tyreek Hill. You want something quick and easy. And trading up might seem like it could be quick and easy. Get rid of those 2 picks to get one of the top 10, maybe top 15 draft picks, so you can get your wide receiver before anybody else does. Because there's obviously teams out there that really don't need much. We've talked about it, right? Green Bay, they need their pick, but they might possibly trade up as well to land a wide receiver. Okay, they have like 22 and 28, I think, is their picks or something like that. It's somewhere up there, so they need a wide receiver too. So do you try to beat Green Bay? Most likely, especially if neither of these teams land Deebo Samuel. So look for the Chiefs to potentially trade up in this year's draft class. And why do teams, why do they want to trade back? We talked about it. Not too many guys in this draft. The edge rushers there's plenty of edge rushers. You got Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, Boye Mafe from Minnesota. Hey, congrats to him. Hopefully he can live out his dream. That's what this week is all about. Dreams coming true, tears being shed, busts potentially happening, superstars being made, teams making the right or wrong decision. I'm excited for it. And speaking of draft night, there's been a trade already. There's been a couple already, but this one is a legit draft trade, a draft night trade, but it's not draft night. But the Patriots, according to Adam Schefter, have dealt their 5th round draft pick to the Houston Texans for their 6th and 7th round picks. Cool. The specifics here, Atfield Yates, the Texans received pick 170. The Patriots received picks 183 and 245. So the Patriots realized, hey, the Texans could use this draft pick more than we could because half the time you're not even going to find somebody that's worth a damn, okay, in the 5th round. It's just not going to happen. And it usually never happens. I think, I want to say, first round, half of them make it, and they're awesome. Half of them are busts. Second round, cut the half that make it into half, and keep doing that for every single round. So it just gets smaller and smaller of the chances of somebody actually being an absolute stud in the National Football League. So New England, Bill Belichick, okay, he's head coach, he's GM, he's basically part owner with Robert Kraft. I mean, he literally does it all over, their head scout, all this. He understands that, hey, we're going to find a guy more likely than they will, so let's give him a chance. Let's trade up a little bit, maybe save us some money on the long-term things, or on the long-term effect of it. So that trade has been made. More trades will definitely happen because it's not even draft night and trades already happened. Teams are still making calls for the number 1 overall pick, the number 2 overall pick, the number 3 overall pick. Basically, picks 1 through 5, teams are calling, hey, what's the possibility that I can get the number 1 overall pick? Oh, you're not gonna? All right, sounds good. All right. So, hey, what's the possibility if I get the number 2 overall pick? Well, not gonna get it. All right, sounds good. But who knows? Because draft night, when draft night happens, which is this Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time, all hell's about to break loose. Trades will be made, minds will be blown, dreams will come true, tears will be shed. We've said it multiple times. It's going to be a great evening. It's one of the best days of the year where we get to see, these young studs potentially live out their dreams that they once had when they were just a wee old lad, when they were younger, like 3 years old, 4 years old, or whenever they could comprehend the sport of football. So with that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Not much to talk about other than, what we did. Draft week is upon us, 3 days away. Excited for that. Hope you guys tune in the rest of the week. Thursday, we will have our draft spectacular, or draft show, whatever you want to call it, and where we dive through, give you our opinions on the picks that are being made. So with that being said, like I said, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy. Well, it's kind of cold as shit out right now. Room's freezing, so it's great. We'll turn the heat on and just enjoy it while we can, but enjoy the rest of your night. Watch whatever you want to watch. There's no Minnesota sports on, but whatever team you are a fan of, go cheer them on, whether that's hockey, baseball, basketball, because the NBA playoffs are right on, or are happening right now, basically. So enjoy the night. Stay safe out there. Be smart. Don't be like Byron Pringle and make a dumb decision that could potentially affect you for, maybe not the rest of your life, but quite some time in the next couple years. So just be smart out there, folks. We'll be back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time, like always, on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, hit the like and the share. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe. It'd be much, much appreciated. And with that being said, we'll see you later tomorrow, Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central Time, and you just got your fix with the Wicks. Deuces, folks.